Welcome to Kickin It Local, the podcast all about the football community in South Australia. I'm your host, Johnny Keko. Today I'm joined by the head coach of Northern Demons, Omar Hassan. Thank you for joining me, Omar.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here in the studio, and I'm looking forward to chatting a bit more about your story. You were on my show, The Local Game, where we discussed about the your current results with football with Northern Demons in the Australia Cup and also in the early stage of State League 2. But now we get to talk a little bit about you. And your journey to where you are now, coaching, but also your playing journey as well. How are you finding your early days of coaching now as well?
Yeah, look, it's been good. Stressful, obviously. Coaching is a stressful job, but I'm started to sort of find my rhythm a little bit and enjoy it. I'd say I struggled with the early days, but now I've sort of become a little bit more, I guess, better at not taking it home and be upset about certain results and things like that. So that's the part that I started to enjoy a little bit more now. Enjoying it more, I guess, now.
How do you manage to ease off that and try and forget about those games when you do get angry and get too invested sometimes?
Yeah, look, I've got two beautiful daughters at home and obviously my wife and look, I sort of, my early days coaching, I felt like, when there was used to lose, I used to go home and first thing my wife would ask me, how did you go today? And I would say, look, we lost. So she knew straight away to not talk to me, obviously on that night or whatever. But now I've just realized I'm like, you know what, this is ridiculous. I need to become, custom with it and become better, dealing with results, whether it's a win, loss or a draw. So now I'm well prepared. So I prepare myself mentally before the game. Even though if it's a game that we know that we should have won, I'm prepared now, and I've got a bit of a coping mechanism now and better way of dealing with results. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good now.
Well, let's go back to 18 years ago when you first started playing football, senior football. You played Cobras, and it's probably the best. It introduced you to winning that first year. You won in that first year. Won the league, third top goal scorer as well, and also another coach in your in the State League 1, Maj Ibrahim, was your teammate that year. So you had some great players around you.
Yep.
So an easy transition. Did that set you up for that to be around success and you get you used to it, or was it?
Yeah, I was very fortunate that 2016 season. Prior to that, I was obviously I migrated to Australia in 2002, end of 2001, 2002, and I played a couple of seasons with what was known then as Adelaide Galaxy, Berks now. It was owned by Colin Macris at the time, and it was something. It was this amazing club with a lot of facilities, a lot of I guess finances to support it and stuff at the time. So I played under 18s then, and then coming from a sort of my background, and I had to focus on year 11 and 12, and I then stopped playing football altogether to focus on year 11 and 12, and took a couple of years off, and then came back and joined Cobras. And the reason why I joined Cobras was just it was pretty close to my house, so I joined them sort of towards the end of 2005 season. I played Resis, maybe 7 games of Resis. Then I had a full pre-season, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the team that won the 2006 State League. At the time, it was a Super League, Premier League, and State League. We had, I remember there was a rivalry between us and Western Strikers and Comets. And we ended up winning the league. And as you mentioned, Maj Ibrahim is a good friend of mine, and we've been in contact ever since. And yeah, he was a fantastic midfielder, and I was playing more up top. So no, it was good. It was good. It started reignited my passion and gave me experience with playing first team football for sure.
Well, actually, we'll talk about the when you migrated in 2002 because we're seeing a lot of players now in our local league and local system
Yep.
of African descent that have come here at a young age. What was it like for you to go through that and try and get used to the culture here in Australia and settle in?
Yeah, very very good question, Johnny. To be honest, and look, it was a struggle at the time. Obviously, language. I didn't speak English at all at the time, so I used to go to language school in Croydon, Adelaide Secondary School of English, and that's when I had actually I think it was a PE teacher who sort of like we communicated like with the ball pretty much, and so he's the one that helped me get into football, and he got me to go to Bacala or Galaxy at the time. But yeah, it was certainly hard. It was definitely hard. The culture, the physicality of the game, I struggled
Yep.
with it a little bit as well. But yeah, eventually with a few of my teammates sort of helped me out, the transportation aspect of things as well. So that definitely played a massive role. And certainly, look, at the time, I wish I had some of the programs that's going on at this stage, and or some of the personnels or the mentors that are providing mentorship to some of the young players nowadays, even at Adelaide United and other academies. I had nothing like that at all. I think I was one of only 2 or 3 African players in the whole 3 leagues at the time, playing sort of 18s reserve and first team. But yeah, now it's a much better environment. Players are well established. They've got clubs are more aware of players from different backgrounds and stuff. So no, it's been great, and I think it's just going to get better. And we can see now a number of African players are coming through, especially through the rank of Adelaide United, and it's been really great.
It's interesting because a lot of these clubs that you've played at and all other clubs around in South Australia and across Australia are all built on nationalities and the heritages from those
Sure.
players that people that have come
Yeah,
and migrated in similar circumstances to you, but
correct.
50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's very fun. It's interesting how it's all we've got a new generation of people coming through, the Africans coming through
Yep.
now and being a part of those clubs. Have you noticed and anything about that that's in the similarities that you're seeing now with what these clubs are pretty much built on?
Yeah. So obviously, I'm aware. Obviously, the Italians and the Greeks that came in the 50s and the 60s, and then there was obviously the the Serbians, the Bosnians, the Croatian that came probably the 80s and the 90s, and there was a big gap, and then there was some sort of African players that started arriving in sort of mid. So around 2006, 2005. But yeah, certainly clubs like, don't want to name any clubs so I don't forget anyone, but I've become a lot better in welcoming players from African descent and from other cultural background. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, to be honest. I think it's, but yeah, clubs have come a long way in that regards. Some clubs do it better than others. For me, I feel like Victory, Croydon, Olympic, Playford now, obviously the likes of Irkunda and Croydon, especially with the Tourés. It's been great, and they know that these players bring a lot of value to the club, and and can potentially bring some financial return as well when they get signed up by big teams.
Well, it's great to see and how you've adjusted into the local game. But let's talk about your playing career again. Well, you took a bit of a break, 2013 to 2015. Any reason behind that to step back?
Yeah, look, at the time I was just I wanted a new challenge, so I actually moved overseas. Went to Dubai for a few months. I took some time off. I was working at Red Cross here, and took some time off. And my manager was kind enough to say, "Look, I'll give you 3 months extended leave. Go try it out and see." I was nothing. No, it wasn't football related decision. It was just purely just wanted to change. And so I went to Dubai and Egypt for a period of time, and things didn't work out there. I missed Adelaide, and so I came back. Then I got married in 2014, so I didn't play that season. And around 2015, 2016, when I got back to football, and I went to Olympic, which is the last club that I played for before I had that break, and actually played with Mike Talbot.
Everyone knows Talbot.
Yeah, he's great. Look, I'm not sure if he shared that goal he scored at that Old Pirates ground. I think I was playing with him at the time. I'm not sure if I was on the bench or starting, but that was something else. That bicycle, I think it was a bicycle kick. That is unbelievable. So now that's big shout out for Mark. He's a fantastic guy, and yeah, loves his football. So
He certainly does.
yeah. Then that season, I sort of found my rhythm a little bit, and we had Albie Kidd coaching first team at Olympic. I wasn't too keen playing first team football, to be honest, and I was sort of more wanted to play reserve, less pressure. I was finding my feet a little bit, but I then still featured playing some first team football. We had some good players, Oliver Tatani and a few other players. Yeah, then I ended up sort of playing Resi most of the season, and I think I scored for midfield about 34 goals, and ended up winning the reserve player of the year, which was a fantastic achievement. But yeah, it was good. It was a good season for me. Reignited my passion again for football, and from there I obviously went and just for the last 8 years of my career I played first team football, and that's when then I sort of retired, I guess, after that.
Well, 2017, you were at Vipers, which is a big year for them, where they've come to now. It's incredible where they are now, State League 1 under Maj Ibrahim.
Yep.
But you were there in their first season, captained them in the first couple of games.
Yes. I was. So after the season I had with Olympic, I've got to receive a phone call from Peter Stephanopoulos. He said, Omar, look, we're starting a new project at Vipers. Would you like to join? Obviously, Adrian and Frankie were sort of managing that project, and so I said, yep, no worries, why not? And still, it was a very young team, and at the time was a bit, it was a great transition for me going back to first team. But that time I was named sort of captain. I captained the side in the first game against first official game for Vipers Football Club in the sort of top level. There was against Cobras, I think. I was in the cup as well. We lost, I think, 2-1. But it was fantastic for me, and it was a great achievement.
How do you find having those responsibilities as a captain of a side like Vipers back in those days?
Yeah, look, I must admit at the time I didn't deal with it well, to be honest. We had a lot of young players and a club that was transitioning from amateur to state league, and I must admit that I had a lot of frustration with that. Maybe now I would have dealt with it differently, but at the time I was pretty just animated, very angry. I used to. I was very passionate, and sometimes things would come across a little bit wrong, I guess. And certainly it was a year where with the captaincy I didn't stay as a captain for too long. I was still part of the leadership group, but I was as I said, I was very negative towards some of the young players at the time for whatever reason. So I decided to. Spoke to Peter at the time. I decided to step down as a captain, but I was still part of the leadership group.
Did you work out what the reasoning behind it was, or do you know why? Or?
Look, it was just purely out of I was very passionate and I wanted to win, and I wasn't accustomed to a team that was just came to the league and struggled with results, and so that was I was getting angry, and interestingly enough, I sort of second or third game in the season, I was like, you know what, I need to do something about it. So I went and bought myself a one of those what do you call it? The boxing
Mouth guard.
mouth guards. Yeah, exactly. Where I basically just I was wearing him throughout the game, so I talk less, but also if I get angry, I'll just bite on those ones, and I think it helped a little bit, and it didn't stay for too long, to be honest. It was probably the first 6 games where I was a bit frustrated, but then I got used to it, and I became a better. I've contributed a lot more positively in the season for Vipers for sure.
Was that technique something you learned from someone else, or just something you came up with yourself?
Look, I knew I needed to stop talking, and the only thing that was going to make me stop talking is having something in my mouth. And I thought, you know what, let me use a different technique so people don't see, mouth guard is something that was common. A lot of people wore mouth guards. I know more in the footy, but there was some footballers that soccer players that also wore it as well. So I thought, you know what, I'll just use it, and it worked for me, to be honest. It was a technique that I came up with. I knew my limitations. I knew my trigger points, and I knew if I stopped talking and stopped shouting. And it was so silly because if I spoke or said anything while wearing the mouth guard, it would sound so ridiculous. So I thought, you know what, it's good. It's quite good to wear it and stuff. But yeah, as I said, it was only for about 6 games, and then after that, I managed my anger a little bit better. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting year for me.
Well, it's interesting you do that, because a lot of players that we see this as a commentator, you see a lot of players, the way they handle certain decisions and the anger towards the officials, or even towards their own players, benches, or even fans. You see all that. You noticed it, you actioned it, and you came up with a solution. Your background as well is a social worker. Did that help you? Were you studying at the time, and that's what helped you identify this and try and come up with a solution?
Yeah, look, I certainly, so by then I finished my social work degree. And believe it or not, my focus was, in my degree was mental health. But yeah, at the time, I had to do something about it. Like, I felt it's certainly not a good thing to be negative towards the team players and stuff. So it was just, as I said, it was a period of the season where I felt like I needed to do something about it. And yeah, definitely being a social worker and recognizing that there was something going on, and actioning it. That was something that I thought it was very positive. Certainly my background in social work probably helped a little bit in containing my anger and stuff like that. Obviously, as I said, it was just a new club and prior I was at Comets, Olympic, Cobras, which were a lot more established than Vipers. But yeah, certainly it helped me, and I didn't want to be that type of person that was negative towards young players, and I overcome this issue pretty much straight away, and yeah, helped them. I must admit, the mouth guard helped a little bit, for sure.
Have you, you managed to help yourself, but have you ever had a moment where you've helped someone else, like identify those similar scenarios on the pitch?
Yeah, I think more when I was as a coach, to be honest. I did have some certain players, I won't mention names obviously, but they've had some anger problems. One particular one had 14 yellow cards in one season.
Wow.
And it was just purely. So what I've done, I remember the time I was doing my course with Van Dommel, and so he's working obviously at Metro. I said, look, I'm struggling with this player. So it was good. And that's a good thing about, obviously, being a social worker and communicating with others. And even if I don't know the solution, I'll talk to the other. So I had this particular striker who would go and always get a yellow card in the first 5-10 minutes. And then from there, we had to manage him and take him off early or whatever. So I remember, so I just basically spoke to him in front of the group, and I said, look, you don't trust your players, do you? You don't trust players around you. You don't trust your defenders. And I felt like that technique helped him a little bit, because it doesn't matter how much I spoke to him privately, things didn't work. So you then have to know the key for every player you coach and stuff. So at the time, I said to him, listen, I had to put him in front of the group and say, look, this yellow cards that you're getting is costing us. We constantly changing plans and we missing games and stuff like that. And I said, look, it's either you don't trust your teammates or there's something else going on. And so I made him stand in front of the team and had to answer to it. I said, no, I trust my teammates, and it's not that I just want to make the tackle. And I said, look, if a player goes past you, you're not able to win the ball, just trust that someone else will make that tackle for you and stuff like that. So that worked in a way. So yeah, certainly like my degree helped in a lot of things. Communication, obviously, with coaches, with committee members, with players, has helped me a lot, to be honest, in my coaching and playing career, I'd say.
Well, before we move on to your coaching career, which I want to talk a bit about, because you've been in there for a couple of years now. I just want to quickly discuss some of your playing days. What's some of the biggest moments you've looked back on now and really look back on fondly?
Look, I was fortunate enough to play alongside some fantastic players.
Mark
like
Talbot, one of those.
Talbot, yeah, absolutely. Actually, we had a very good team that year, but I was fortunate enough to play with Paul Pezos, George Tunis. I was fortunate enough to play against Theo Tunis as well. Con Karatevlis and stuff is a fantastic player and a legend of Cobras. Perus's, Saranti especially, he was unbelievable player. Obviously Stav Perus's. So I was very fortunate. So this is one of the highlights when I look back at some of those players that I played with. I feel very privileged, and it's been certainly a good thing. Look, some individual achievements obviously, but certainly the 2006 season with Cobras stands out for me for sure. I love that, and it was just a great group of players, and we still in contact with some of them. So that's for me stands out big time.
What was it like back then, being a part of a squad like that and being part of a club like Cobras?
Yeah, look, again, Cobras, it was a club that 2006 was still sort of finding our feet. This was actually the year that the league separated from Premier League, State League to Super League, Premier League, State League. And because Cobras were in the bottom, I think 8 teams, then they were automatically put into State League, so which then was at the time was the 3rd division. It was early days for Cobras. Obviously, Cobras now have come a long way for sure. A lot better facilities, attracting a lot of players. But at the time, it was certainly was a couple of Greek players that were near retirement, some young players that were coming through, and it was fantastic. Look, it was a great club, great family club. I would say it's always been, and I still think it still is. Certainly it was a highlight, one of the highlights of my playing days.
How'd you find the food?
Oh man, food was amazing. To be honest. Look, also because I have to mention as well, like I eat halal food and stuff.
Yeah.
So they were very accommodating and stuff. So they'll buy like halal chicken and stuff, and still make savlakis and stuff. For us, and which is something that I think a lot of clubs now are being educated about those things. So when I was at Gola, they used to buy some chicken that was halal for me and for a few other players. To be honest, Northern Demons this year, the pasta, the pasta has been, like the mincemeat had to be halal for me and stuff. So they sort of accommodating. But yeah, certainly at the time, the food was it's probably one of the best. I think everyone agrees, hands down, one of the best food.
Yep. It's probably the only ground you can go to and eat on a ceramic plate as well.
Yes, that's it.
I remember the first time I went there and I was eating and they gave me a ceramic plate. I was like, how am I going to watch the football?
Exactly. No, they still have that tradition. So
It's
nah,
great.
It's a great club.
Then you go down to Adelaide Oval, you can't drink out of a can sometimes. Well, now you can, but you couldn't.
Yeah, I know. And this guy's like trusting you with the ceramic plates. Amazing.
That's but we could talk about that stuff for ages. But it's great. That's what makes the community so
Yeah,
good as well.
yeah.
Like you're saying about the halal side of things, something so little, but these clubs, I think, also because I think some of the people, the founding people of these clubs and the hardworking volunteers, they know what it's like
Yep.
when they came and
Absolutely.
to this country. I know with my family from the back in the 50s,
Yep.
the Italians when they migrated here, so they had similar things that people were
Absolutely.
having to accommodate to, or them accommodating to the to different communities and all that. So it's a very similar thing, and I think that's what the best thing about our community is, that those things like that everyone gets around each other and treats each other equally.
100%. And honestly, football is probably the best way to bridge that gap. A kid who doesn't speak English, you just throw a ball, and all of a sudden that those two kids will be speaking to each other through the beautiful game. So that's the other thing that have made I think my journey as a footballer a lot easier to settle here in Australia, because I straight away I felt like I became accustomed to the culture a lot more quicker than other people that, like my siblings who were not involved in soccer, for example. So now I walk, I remember, I walk on, like around sort of the city, run the mall, and, every few meters you get stopped by someone that you played with or played against, and my wife is like, "Wow, man, a lot of people." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's the beauty of football,
It is.
which is, I'm sure that's gonna be, that's you now. Like, I'm sure you get stopped now with people are familiar with your face and stuff.
Yeah,
with the amazing.
we can't miss my hair.
yeah, the hair as well.
But it is. You're right, because now I go to places. I've said it a couple of times where I'll out and then I'll chat to people, and it's I love it. It's great, but I've only been involved in a couple of years, so I can just imagine people like yourself. We mentioned Mark Taubin and all that, but that's what it's good about it. It's everyone is united. I went to a wedding recently as well, and I didn't realize that there was a lot of people from the NPL there. It was
it's amazing.
it's just, I think that's the beauty of football. It's a great community, and no matter your differences, everyone gets along with each other.
No, I agree.
And we all got that one thing that we all love. It's football.
Absolutely.
And it unites us, which is great.
That's good.
But and one thing I want to touch on as well is that your the secondary school of English you went to as well.
Yeah.
I remember what it was like, because when I was in high school back in I finished in 2012. So, but year 8 and 9, the only time I've never played football, only at school I played very briefly, and I was terrible at it. That's why I commentate and host shows. But I remember how passionate they were, because our school was getting a lot of African immigrants that were coming. They'll go to secondary school of English, and then once they would finish it, I would end up coming to our school. Was one of those schools, Findon High School. And I remember playing against the secondary school of English, and it was great to see these kids that couldn't speak proper English, but the football united them. And it was a great community to be a part of. I really got along with a lot of those kids that were not from. They were just here for like the last couple of years, but we all had that one love and couldn't speak. They couldn't speak properly with each other, but we could communicate through the love of the game. How do you find that, and how did that help you be accustomed to this country?
Yeah, certainly. As I mentioned, my first, obviously, when I first arrived, I spent about a year in Adelaide Secondary School of English on Torrance Road, Croydon. And what was funny was next to us was Croydon High School at the time. I think it doesn't exist anymore.
No.
But we, again, we used to play at lunchtime against these boys, and I can tell you, we used to smash them every lunchtime, and they used to come back the following day, and we used to do the same. But that was something else, like things that a lot of people take for granted. But yeah, certainly, it's football is the way that unites people, and definitely did help me in settling in much quicker. When you start scoring goals or whatever, or have a good game, then your teammates sort of want to talk to you a bit more and take you out, and and that was the case with me. I wasn't driving at the time, and yeah, I was getting dropped off. I was getting offers. I reckon. I think I was catching the bus for like the first few weeks, and
Yeah.
then I started scoring goals, and I started getting offers. Hey, Omar, do you want me to drop you home? And like, yeah, good, yeah, it's good. So that was it's yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, certainly, I think things are a little bit more better, a lot more establishment. There's other programs. I think one of the guys that interviewed, Josh Smith,
Yep.
which I work closely with, managing the PPP. So his program again, so I'm one of the mentors there, to help young players settle in and talk about things other than football. Like they have things that's going on in their life, difficulties with work and things like that. I let Josh manage the football side of things, but I still go there and do some coaching as well. But I try to be like a mentor for them and tell them, look, it's okay. We all been through it. And trying to find them ways to find work and other other pathways. Then so that's something that I'm passionate about, and I want to sort of continue provide that opportunity for young players and players from a non-English speaking background to settle in and be part of the community.
That's all for part 1 of my chat with Omar Hassan. Part 2 out soon. Sadly, that's the end of the latest episode of Kickin It Local. But still want your weekly football fix? Well, tune in to The Local Game, a new show on Keko Media YouTube, premiering Thursdays at 6 p.m, with replays on Channel 44 each Friday night. For more local stories, don't miss an episode of Kickin It Local. Subscribe on Spotify now.